All right, it's me again. So instead of doing this in the car, I thought I'd do something a little bit different and change the pace. Basically, the topic is self explanatory. Those who are on the outside, those who don't have a faith or a belief, this is going to be completely irrelevant to them and it's not going to matter to them one way or the other. However, that being said, those who don't have a faith may not necessarily have values or goals or anything to look forward to, which is important. The older you get, the longer you go on, you start seeing things that will challenge you and question you and make you feel as if things are, pointless. Like, why is this worth it? Why is this worth my time and effort? There's a lot here, and some of this will have to take time because it's one thing to hear advice, it's another to see all of this happen in real life and happen in a way that is understandable. There's going to be some people who it's going to take multiple times for it to get through just because it's complicated, it's not going to be easy. Or sometimes we just want to do what we want to do when we want to do it. And, well, you're going to have to learn it the hard way, I guess. There's 6 verses here. Going to touch on them briefly because, well, when it comes down to it, what exactly are you sharing? Are you sharing written words? Or are you sharing something that is important to you, that is personal? Are you sharing it in a way that is relevant? Or are you sharing something that is, well, you're just throwing verses at them? Like, it's not just what you're sharing, but it's also your method of delivery and how you share it. So, starting with Romans 10:17 here. Let's see here. And I am using the NIV version. Normally I would be using the Amplified version. So, in case you're going to ask a question as far as which version. Consequently, faith comes from hearing the message, and the message is heard through the word about Christ. But this is going on to 18. But I asked, did they not hear? Of course they did. Their voice has gone out into the earth, the words to the ends of the world. So, when it comes down to it, faith starts from hearing, and then it's accomplished through action. It's accomplished through relevancy and the impact that is made on one's life. It's basically seeing faith in action. Someone's life being lived out. There's been accounts and stories most of us have heard of loved ones changing on their grave from who they were to someone else. I would have to say that is a life a bit wasted there because they're changing at the last second and there's no change. There's no marks to show that they've changed. It's just, yeah. Anyway, moving on here. Romans 1:12. I am trying to make these verses relevant to each to your life, so it's going to take me a bit of a second. I marked them so it's going to be easy to flip to them. Romans 1:12. Actually, I will start with Romans 11 going into 12. I long to see you so that I may impart to you some spiritual gift to make you strong. That is, that you and I may be mutually encouraged by each other's faith. It goes on to 13 here about planning on visiting and just being prevented. But the point ties back in with the other part for Romans 10:17. Faith in action, and you are living your beliefs out. You're not just simply talking the talk, you're walking the walk as well. So those two are technically together. Alright, moving on. Acts 11:24. Excuse me, I went too far. Acts 11:24. this is talking about Barnabas starting around 22 and 23 when he arrived, saw what the grace of God had done. He was glad and encouraged them all to remain true to the Lord with their hearts. He was a good man, full of the Holy Spirit and faith, and a great number of people were brought to the Lord. Living your life in action and making an impact on others. You know, there's people who do this in multiple ways. There are preachers, there are those who are counselors, and then there's those who are your friends at church or some other organization where you go to who they know a lot about God and they actually try to live and be a good example. There are people who are very public, those who are very private. They have different methods, and that matters, but not as much as you think. You'll be drawn to what will impact you the most, but this is not something that is going to come to the front of your mind. It's just going to be something very passive behind the scenes. You'll be drawn to what is attracted to you. There's just good examples and bad examples of people being turned on, turned off, those who've completely shut down and just moved away from. They start treating faith and their just religion in general as if it's like politics, and they just avoid it altogether. I don't think that's right, but there's been too many cases recently with the election and just a whole bunch of garbage that's been thrown on both sides that the point should be made very clear. When you start comparing the two, and you're going to start treating one like the other. All right, moving on here. 2 Corinthians 10:15. I will start at 13. We, however, will not boast beyond proper limits, but will confine our boasting to the sphere of service God Himself has assigned to us, a sphere that also includes you. 14. We are not going too far in our boasting, as would be the case if we had not come to you, for we did get as far as you with the gospel of Christ. 15. Neither do we go beyond our limits by boasting of work done by others. Our hope is that as our faith continues to grow, our sphere of activity among you will be greatly expanded. Going on to 16. So that we can preach the gospel in the regions beyond you. For we do not want to boast about work already done in someone else's territory. I believe each person has is allotted a certain amount of time within other people's lives to make an impact. And once that time is over, the time is greatly over, and going back in is going to be very hard, if not impossible, to do. And I'm not talking about simply making phone calls or sending letters. I'm talking about actually being a part of that person's life again. It could be that neighbor that you moved away from. It could be, in the case for me, military buddies who I haven't seen in years, but who I still talk to through Facebook. That's important because once they're out of your life, chances are they're going to be permanently out of your life outside of contact through messages and emails and calls of some kind. So your range of influence, as what some people would call it, it's very limited. Now let's see what else here. Boasting is something that I would be very hesitant about doing as well, because that sends the wrong message of you don't care about the other person, you just care about your faith. You care about the works, not the person. So that's something that I would like to put out there. My own personal thoughts on that as well. Faith is going to be personal to everyone, and it's going to be important to them for various different reasons. But most likely it's going to be tied to something very important as well. It could also be tied to something that is a negative or a bad event, like some sort of traumatic event. someone passing away or some sort of abuse. That is also very possible. All right, moving on here. Galatians 5:22. Oh, yeah. Okay, this is good. Let's back up a step, though. Might start at 5:18. Okay, slight change of plans. I'll say what the verse is, then I will back up and say the small paragraph because it's actually decent. It does expand a little bit on the verse itself. Alright, Galatians 5:22. But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, forbearance, kindness, goodness, faithfulness. Going on to 23, the first part. Gentleness and self-control. Against such things there is no law. Now, backing up a step here, because defining what faith in action looks like is very important, because some people do not know what it is, they don't know what it looks like, and they cannot imagine it. Some people are also very visual, which is in my case. I like to see things in action. I don't simply like to just sit there and read books. I used to love to read books, but as I got older and the military ended up changing my life, I became much more visually oriented than, I became a lot more active when it comes down to being visually oriented and all that, not just simply being able to sit still and read. I have trouble sitting still. I need to move. I need to be busy. Backing up to the beginning of the paragraph here, because this is actually good. It goes off into a slightly different direction. It's titled By Life by the Spirit, to give you a bit of a hint there. You, my brothers and sisters, were called to be free, but do not use your freedom to indulge the flesh. Faith in action, being able to relate to other people and talk to them and stuff like that. That's just a side comment here. But how are you going to reach out to someone and be an example if you're constantly doing things that you should not do, things that are unhealthy, or things that are just basically going against basically things that are wrong? How are you going to be a good example then if you're always doing something wrong and getting in trouble and causing problems? You're not. Anyway, sorry about that. You, my brothers and sisters, were called to be free, but do not use your freedom to indulge the flesh. Rather, serve one another humbly in love. For the entire law is fulfilled in keeping this one command. This is 14. Love your neighbor as yourself. 15. If you bite and devour each other, watch out or you will be destroyed by each other. 16. So I say, walk by the Spirit, and you will not gratify the desires of the flesh, which is not so much about not doing anything that is of your interest outside of what is spiritual, but it's talking about a lifestyle. The lifestyle that you live, that you're setting up, the patterns that you have. That's more or less what I believe it is talking about. It's like having a few casual drinks with friends versus going to the bar every single day and getting hammered. There's a lot of people in the military who do that. So for them, that's what they would be feeling right there, is gratifying the desires of the flesh. For the flesh, going on to 17. For the flesh desires what is contrary to the Spirit, and the Spirit what is contrary to the flesh. They are in conflict with each other, so that you are not to do whatever you want. 18. But if you are led by the Spirit, you are not under the law. The more you follow your faith and your belief, and the more you try to be, in this case, talking about Christianity, the more you try to be like Christ, the more your values are going to change to reflect what the values are found here in the Bible. Your faith is going to end up, it's going to take a bit of a toll, but it's also going to change, and you're going to see who you are becoming. And if you decide to go the opposite direction, or for those who are outside, well, I guess it's easy to backslide there. You just going back and making sure that your foundation is solid is what I'm trying to say. I'm just going about that terribly. making things relevant is extremely hard because many of us, all of us, come from different backgrounds and different walks in life. This is going to be hard, and sometimes it will be. We can only hit upon certain areas because we're just simply not equipped to be dealing with everything about certain problems. All right. James, moving on. James 2:26. This is the last verse, by the way. 2:26. I will start with 25. Actually, I will start with 24. This 23 talks about Scripture being fulfilled in Abraham being believed by God and was credited as righteousness. Yes. And he was called God's friend. Called God's friend. 24. You see that a person is considered righteous by what they do and not by faith alone. Actions complemented by faith. By what they believe. 25. In the same way, was not even Rahab the prostitute considered righteous for what she did when she gave lodging to the spies and sent them off in a different direction? 26. As the body without the spirit is dead, so faith without deeds is dead. This is important because I believe the greatest works are done when people act under faith. There are many people who they go through the motions and it's not. They feel dead. Their words feel very dead, so they come off as being dead. There's also too many people out there who they come off as fake because what they care about is money and making a profit. They don't care about the people. They don't care about being relevant. They just care about being popular, which is, well, that's their call. That's their decision to make. But in this particular case, being able to give you the right tools is what is important to me, and that is the entire point of this channel. One of the points of this channel, excuse me. There's a whole bunch of studies done on Rahab because her lifestyle is her job. We don't know much about Jericho, we don't know much about what happened afterwards, but her life and her family was saved. And being a prostitute is honestly, it's got to be hard. I've never done any studies on that. I don't know how that would work out, but living a lifestyle like that has got to be hard. For the first and foremost, there's no protection. And if there is some sort of protection, there's probably going to be mediums and some sort of spiritual advisors involved, probably at the local temple. I don't know anything about that, though. She wasn't at all. Since she's not an Israelite, the people that she had to deal with were completely on the other side there, because everyone in that town believed in different gods. I don't know what gods, and I have not done any studies on that, but I know that she was not Israelite, and her faith could very well have been pushed on her. There's nothing about her background outside of if she grew up there or she moved there. But seeing people's faith in action and understanding that people are willing to live and possibly die for what they believe in is very motivating, because you know that in many ways, if someone's faith is a scam, they're going to come off as fake, or they're going to fall away when the trials hit. That is incredibly important to note. Alright, I hope this was helpful to you, and I hope you picked up on some of the points that I was trying to make here. Also, I hope you enjoy seeing my cat. I thought I would just change it up a little bit, and Yeah. Anyway, take care.